Today we're going to do Unit 6, Lesson 2. I promised you that we would not always have to do these quadratics by hand. Today I'm going to introduce you to how to do them all on the calculator. We are going to do some on our TI-84 calculator, and we're going to do some using Desmos. Okay? So this hopefully will go a little quicker than yesterday. But out to the left-hand side, I have my notes for how we're going to do this. All right, so by calculator, we need to go to y equals and type in the function. We will go to the table by hitting second y equals, and we'll scroll up or we'll scroll down to find the rainbow. And I kind of showed you a little bit of how to do that at the end of our last lesson. And then finally, the vertex is going to be in the middle. That vertex is going to help us determine the axis of symmetry, the domain, the range, and give us the ability to fill in this table and graph it all very quickly. Okay, so we're just going to do one or two of these. Let's see. I guess number 5. We'll do number 5. So pull up your calculator. I did learn about a TI graphing calculator that Apple is providing for free, but I need to add that to the notes for today's lesson, like the instructions. I'll put that up there with that. And then for all of my Android users, remember that you can get the Wabbit EMU. So I'll remind you of both of those in the instructions for today's lesson. All right, so let's do number 5. I need to pull up my calculator. Here it is. All right, and make that normal. So I am going to turn this on, and then let's go ahead and type in this into y equals. So y equals, and then I have x squared minus 6x plus 11. And then I'm going to hit second y equals, I'm sorry, this should not say y equals. This should say graph right here. Let me fix that. That should say second graph, okay? And now I'm going to scroll up and down until I find the rainbow. Now I kind of got lucky here because I already see it. I want you to look at my calculator and see if you can find the center of the rainbow. I immediately noticed the 11 and the 11 on the outside, and then there's a 6 and a 6, and there's a 3 and a 3. So the vertex is going to be what is in the center of all of that. So 3 comma 2. 3 comma 2. The axis of symmetry I know is at x equals 3. The domain will be all real numbers. That's just kind of how parabolas will always work. The domain will always be all real numbers. And now I'm going to go ahead and fill in, let's see, 1, 2, 3. My smartboard's not wanting to work for me. And so those numbers were 6, 3, 2, 3, 6. So I found my rainbow. All right, now to help me determine, let's erase this, to help me determine the range, I'm just going to plot these points real quick and see which way it's going. So positive 3, positive 2, that's my vertex. And then positive 4, positive 3. Okay, so this looks like it is going like this. Sorry, my smartboard's acting up on me. So what that means is if I go to the vertex, the y value of the vertex is 2. So y into 2, that I know. Is my graph going up or going down? And it's going up, which means greater than or equal to. And I have done it all. Okay? It is that easy. Let's skip ahead now. Let's skip ahead to the other part of our notes for today, and that is how to do it on the Desmos calculator. So on the Desmos, we just go to the desmos.com/calculator. We're going to type in our function, and then when we click on the function, we're going to be able to identify these 4 parts really easily. So we're going to learn today about quadratic roots. Quadratic roots are all the points where a parabola crosses the x-axis. All right. Quadratic roots have lots of different names. You might hear them be called zeros, solutions, x-intercepts, and roots. So there's 4 typical names for them. Okay. And a parabola can have different numbers of solutions. It can have 2 solutions if it crosses the x-axis twice. It can have 1 solution if the vertex is landed on the x-axis. Or it can have no solutions at all if it does not cross the x-axis at all. The solutions to a quadratic function are where they cross the x-axis. Okay, so what we're going to do here, and we could still do this by finding the rainbow if we were going to use our TI-84 calculator. But today we're going to use Desmos. So let me open up Desmos right here. Okay. And I am going to screen share here. Okay, so that we can see the example. Okay, so let's do number 1 together. We are going to use the Desmos calculator. So I have it sort of split screened so that we can see both the problem and the Desmos calculator at the same time. So I'm going to come over here and click on function number 1, which will be the only function I need to type in. And I'm going to type x squared plus 4x. So you can use these down here, or you could use your keyboard to type it in. Okay. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Okay. So if I am clicked on my function, my red function here, I can identify some really important parts just by looking at this. If you hold your mouse over it, these little points highlight for you. So here is what I'm looking at. The -2, -9 is my vertex. And in this parabola, the vertex is a minimum. Okay. Next, I can highlight the y-intercept, which is at -5. So 0, -5. Okay. And then I have 2 other points that I can click on as well. 1 and 0. And if I come over here to the other point, it would be -5 and 0. Okay, so I have only written down these 4 points. This point and this point are the x-intercepts, or the solutions, or the roots. Okay. They are everything, or the zeros. People call them zeros as well because the y value is 0 there. Okay, so they have all of these names. So this is solution and solution. So I have two solutions. Okay, this is the vertex. This is a minimum vertex, right? It goes right there. Oh, right there, if I extend that line. And then finally, I have my y-intercept right here, which remember in the equation is that number in the back. Okay, so that's really easy to find. That is the y-intercept. So what I have found is a vertex, a y-intercept, and two x-intercepts. And I barely did anything except type it into Desmos calculator and then click the function and all of these key features pop up for me. Okay. And I know that it had two solutions because it had two x-intercepts. Awesome. Let me clear off my Desmos calculator and we're going to skip over to, let's see, problem number 2. Okay. So problem number 2 is x squared, so I'm going to leave that like that, minus 2x, so minus 2x, plus 1. So let's change this, put plus 1. So this time I used the keyboard on my computer rather than clicking on their keyboard. And so I already have my function right here for me. Click on it and it's going to highlight all the key features for me. So right here I have a 0, 1. 0, 1. That is my y-intercept. So y-intercept is 0, 1. Then I have another point right here, which is 1, 0. 1, 0. And there are no other points for me to click on here. So I want us to look at the picture to figure out why there are no more points of interest on this parabola. How many solutions does it have? Whoops, come back. How many solutions does this function have? The answer is 1 because it landed directly on the x-axis right here. It landed on the x-axis. So this is an x-intercept. That's a solution. But what else is it? It is also my vertex. Okay, this vertex is a minimum, and then it goes up forever. So in this case, there were not 4 different points to find. The vertex and the one solution that I have are all wrapped up into one point. Okay, so this had one solution only. The last example had 2 solutions. Let's go now look at example number 3. So negative x squared, let's start this over. Negative x squared plus 2x minus 3. Okay, and I'm going to zoom out a tiny bit so we can see what's happening here. I found my y-intercept is at 0, -3. That's my y-intercept. I found a vertex right here at 1, -2. 1, -2 is my vertex. And this kind of vertex is a maximum because it's at the top of it. And then where are my solutions? Remember, the solutions are where this function crosses the x-axis. And This function has not crossed the x-axis anywhere. It didn't get high enough to cross the x-axis before it turned around and started going back down. So this is an example of a function that has no solutions. Okay, no solutions here. And that's it. That is all that there is for us to do with this. So let me minimize this and make this larger. This was our entire lesson today. It is just all doing this in the calculator, okay? Unit 6, Lesson 2. So practice with both types of calculator while you're doing this. I know all of you should have Desmos. Most of you should be able to get the TI-84 download. Remember, there is one for Apple and there is one for Android. All right, until next time.